If you are a consistent viewer of this channel, you might be surprised by the title of this video. It's honestly kind of a joke, but it does have some truth to it. So in the past, I have talked about singles investing before, and I've given you guys my opinions on it, but today I wanted to revisit this topic because I just see so many Pokemon investing channels out there talk about singles investing, how, this card has gone up this much, this card's gone down this much, which ones might be good buys. And honestly, when I see those videos and I see the comments, a lot of people believe, what these channels are saying. They're like, oh, this is a good pickup because this one has dropped this much, it's possibly going to go back up because it's gone up to this price, and all these sorts of things. And that's where I kind of draw the line. So on my channel, all I talk about is investing into sealed product because there's a huge difference with investing into singles versus sealed product that some people might not understand, because some people might just see the singles that have shot up to this price and think that, oh, it's just going to go back up to this price at some point because it has gone up to that price. And you know what, if it's right now, it's down, maybe it's down 50% or something, it's a good buy because in the past it has gone up to that price. But there's a big difference with singles and sealed product. The biggest difference is that sealed product is deflationary and cards are not. So what does that even mean? So a sealed product, obviously we're talking about like booster boxes, elite trainer boxes, anything that is like a product with packs or whatever. Those products, they get opened, and once they're opened, that sealed product can no longer be in the market anymore because the product is opened. So as people open up booster boxes, elite trainer boxes, the supply in the market and overall just in existence goes down. But with singles, they are not deflationary because unless someone just decides to burn their cards or rip them up, as soon as a card is pulled from a pack or whatever, it is, in existence basically forever. Obviously, there's conditions and all these other things with the cards that you could say that maybe, in the future you hold on to this card in mint condition, maybe it'll go up. But other than that, the supply stays the same, or it only can go up. So that is the huge difference between singles and sealed product, and that's why I really never, preach and talk about singles, is because it's not deflationary. So over time, the only thing that can really drive the prices up for singles is demand. And you got to think about it this way too. As time goes on, people open up packs from these sets and more cards get pulled over time. So if there's not enough demand for these cards, obviously the prices are going to drop. And there are so many cards in existence in the past that a lot of these cards over time will just somewhat lose popularity. There will be times when these cards, get hyped up and they go back up in value. But over time, there's going to be so many different chase cards from each, era, each set, that it is possible that, in the long run, a lot of these cards are probably going to most likely just lose value. Whatever they peaked at during their time period, like in Sword and Shield, like some of these cards have peaked and now have kind of settled down. For them to go back up to that price, it is possible, but it's pretty unpredictable because we can't predict when the next wave is going to happen with these like alternate arts that shot up in value. We can't predict that. So right now, it could be a good time to buy some of these, alternate arts that I'm going to show you here, because I'm showing you guys all Sword and Shield sets and alternate arts and how they have performed, because you'll see here these singles, other than, like I said, they're not deflationary like sealed product. Another reason why I don't like singles is because they're just so random in terms of going up in value. They're not very predictable. And there are ways, I guess, you could somewhat predict, cards going up in value. A way could be, if this card is competitive and that, it's part of the meta or whatever, then you could maybe predict that a card will go up in value. But other than that, when a card, especially if it's out of print, then obviously there's no competitive play. It is just based on collectors' demand. And it is so random with these cards. You'll see all these different alternate arts from the Sword and Shield era. Some of them have performed very strongly, even though, the alternate arts have mostly crashed when they had its huge hype. Now it's calmed down and a lot of these cards have crashed. Some of them have actually still been performing very well. A lot of them have gone down in value. But you will see here, there's basically no pattern with any of these things. It is so random, and you could get lucky, and you could make a lot of money. And if you got into these alternate arts and you bought them before the huge hype, and even if though they crashed like after the whole hype thing, you probably would still be doing okay. But if you got into it during the hype, you probably lost a lot of money, especially on these more expensive cards. So today I just wanted to show you all these different alternate arts from Sword and Shield and how they differ with how they perform. you will see how random it is, and this is why I never talk about investing into singles, because it's not deflationary, and just how they go up in value, it's just so random. So first here, I want to go over some Evolving Skies alternate arts, because Evolving Skies does have a lot of alternate arts. So the Umbreon VMAX is kind of an outlier in terms of it did not absolutely crash after the whole hype with alternate arts. You can see here, this is the huge hype that happened. And when it started to, die down a little bit, it didn't actually really decrease that much. Like, it kind of stayed the same. It did dip down a little bit, but you can see it's gone back up basically to what it was at its peak. It's just because this card has so much demand for it that it kind of, didn't really do much during, when the prices of alternate arts started to crash. So this is an example. You can see here in 1 year, it has gained 87% more value. So if you bought in before the hype, yeah, you would have been doing good. This is why the video's titled, it's kind of a joke, but you can be rich, invest in cards. Yeah, you can if you buy it at the right time, but it's all just random. No one could have predicted that this card would be $1,000, but here it is. It's $1,000, and even during the crash, it has still been performing all right. It didn't tank in price. Then now we're going to go into a lot of other alternate arts in Evolving Skies, and you'll see here it's really weird. Some of these follow a very specific, and they exactly replicate each other with how they perform, and some of them are totally different. So Rayquaza here, you can see it peaked all the way up to like $500, and now it's at 400, so you would have lost around like 20% if you bought at its peak. Leafeon here, you can see the trends are pretty similar with this huge hype thing, and now they just slowly started to decline. So here's Leafeon alternate art. Glaceon, same thing. They kind of, had the huge hype. Some of them looks like it took a little bit longer to go down, but you can see here it started to dip. Sylveon, same exact, pattern here. They had its whole hype and dipped. And then the Umbreon V, this is not the V Max, but this one you can see the hype, and then it hasn't done terribly, like it hasn't declined a ton, but still hasn't really gone up in value. And then all of a sudden, this Dragonite, during the hype, it rose in value, and it's kind of stayed and actually increased since then. Not really by much, but it hasn't really dipped. So you can see, why did these dip in price, but then this one went up? It's very random. And then, now some Chilling Reign cards. It's just a few. But the Blaziken. The Blaziken was the most expensive card in Chilling Reign. You can see here, same exact, pattern. It had a huge height, and then it dipped down. And then the Moltres. This is like the second most expensive card. Or I might be wrong with that, maybe now, because I think some other cards went up in value, but basically it's one of the top cards. This card has performed during the whole, hype thing and crash. It has, been linear. But the top card dropped this much. And this was the most expensive card. So you would think that maybe because it's the most popular, that it would be, stronger and not really, crash. Like, for example, I showed you guys the Umbreon really didn't crash. But this one did, and this one didn't. So why is that the case? Then some Fusion Strike alternate arts. The Gengar, you can see here, actually has been performing very strongly even through the hype and through the crash. It has still gone up in value. Now the Espeon VMAX, same thing. It has performed during the hype, and it's still performing even after the crash. This Mew, however, you can see here during the hype, and then it dropped. You can see how random this is. Like, even some of the top cards have crashed, some of them don't. It's very random. Lugia. Hype started to go down. It peaked at like 220. Now it's all the way down to 170. Tyranitar for Battle Styles. During the hype, went up. And this is kind of like a little bit after the hype. But I still continue to go up in value. Like, no, like how is this possible? And this is Battle Style. This is coming from one of the worst alternate art sets. At least I think generally everyone says that, right? It has performed very well after the the whole like boom of alternate arts, and during the crash, it's been performing. So it's very strange. Giratina, the big hype, it has dropped. And Giratina is one of the best alternate arts in my opinion from Sword and Shield, and it crashed a lot. It peaked at almost $500, and now it's only $325. Machamp, same thing, hype, crashed. And Charizard, same thing, hype, and then crash. So you can see there's basically no pattern with any of these cards. Some of them, have performed during the crash. Some of them, a lot of them, have just crashed. So you can see here, this is very random. If you were to have bought these before the hype, sure, you're probably not doing that bad because a lot of them have crashed to probably where they were before the hype. But other than that, if you bought during the hype and got into it thinking that these were going to climb to the moon, depending on what you bought, you probably got hurt pretty bad. Some of these you might have done okay on because like some of these have still performed. But just it's so random. This is why I don't talk about investing in the singles because I'm not trying to give false information or information to people that don't really know anything and think that these YouTubers they know everything that's going to happen because investing in cards is very random. If you want to take a chance on it, you can. If you see a card that you know is a pretty popular card, for example, some people talk about Charizard V, Lugia. They're pretty not expensive right now, especially because they have crashed in price. And a lot of people are saying they're undervalued. So you can't take a risk. Maybe you want to buy a few or whatever. That's fine. But just know that there needs to be more demand. This stuff is not deflationary. So you're just taking the risk that hopefully people are going to want this card in the future. So that's all I had to say today. I just wanted to talk about this topic again. So I hope you guys enjoyed. And I'll see you on the next one.